Church, welcome back to another episode of Living by the Book. Pastor Rick, I'm glad you're here. I'm excited about today's question because I think it might be one of the most significant questions you answer this year. It might be.
Okay.
It's actually, I'm kidding, but it's not unimportant either. And actually, I want to say, this was a question that someone in our church actually sent to me, wanting us to talk about it on an episode. Okay. So I just want to remind all of you out there watching, if you ever have questions, look, I'm not a creative person. I can only come up with so many questions. So please don't ever be afraid to submit questions. We would love to.
Do you know what number this is? How many questions we've done?
I think we're in the 70s now.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think we're in the 70s. And I there's only so much that's going on up here, so I need help.
And there's even less that's going on up here.
So this is a submitted question, and the question is, what do I do with Santa Claus?
Santa Claus.
Santa Claus. Yeah, Santa Claus. I don't think the question is he real? I think this person's clear on that. No, the question is, and I think a lot of families have tried to wrestle with this. As Christians, we don't want to lie to our kids, tell them that Santa Claus is real and he's not, or there's kind of variations of how people want to approach that, and when to tell them the bad news that there is no chubby man coming down their chimney on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
I think when it becomes...
He's been outlawed in California. There's chimneys.
Yeah. That's true. That's so sad.
That's right.
Man, global warming, I'll tell you what. But beyond that, I think the question often pops up when it has to do with like other family members, when you know that your relatives are kind of, making that a big emphasis around Christmas time. And the nieces and nephews, your kids' cousins are all about Santa Claus. And, you don't feel the need to spoil anyone else's fun, but you also don't want to necessarily affirm a falsity to your kids.
Right.
So there's all those kind of interlocking issues.
Sure. So,
I'd love to hear, the story of how you guys handled Santa Claus. I think it's fairly humorous to me. And then I'd love for you to either double down on it, or, if you want to.
Yeah.
Or, just help the people out there. What do you do with Santa Claus?
I grew up believing in Santa Claus.
Okay.
Right? And my grandfather, as a manipulative tool to get us to go to bed on Christmas Eve, which in their home, there was no decorating for Christmas.
Interesting.
Until the children were asleep on Christmas Eve.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Then all the decorating happened.
Wow.
The tree was brought in and decorated. There was no tree. There was nothing.
Man.
So when you got up on Christmas morning,
yeah,
everything was like...
Yeah. Like the only explanation was elves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So he would tell us that if we don't go to sleep, if Santa arrived, he would skip our house.
Wow.
And so we'd be upstairs, we'd be goofing around like kids can do. And all of a sudden, regardless of what the weather was outside, there could be 4 feet of snow. And sometimes in northeastern Pennsylvania there was. Mm-hmm. He would go outside with a actual harness for horses that have jingle bells on them, jingling bells.
Yeah.
And he would run around the house. And these things, and we would dive into bed, cover up our
be asleep.
This
is a very elaborate scam.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah, for sure.
It's really impressive. I like this guy. I wish I could have met Grandpa Gregory. Yeah. Man.
Richard Gregory. He was amazing. But anyway, so I grew up believing in Santa Claus and something. I remember when I discovered that he wasn't real. It's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Really?
No, I know it's a shocking experience.
It was.
Yeah, it is.
So we decided we were not going to perpetrate that on our children. We were going to tell them the truth from the very beginning. And basically what we told them was that there is a legend of Santa Claus that's based in truth.
Okay.
So in the 3rd century, there was a guy named St. Nicholas, who was a ordained minister. He was basically a priest, pastor, who was very charitable and concerned about the poor, which he was, according to all accounts.
Right.
Not a lot of historical data until several centuries later that recorded the oral traditions about this guy.
Yeah.
One of my favorite stories that has been embellished, because it's not even certified that he was, at the council where Arius was arguing for Arianism. Right. but he got so frustrated with someone from Arius's camp. The original embellishment was he slapped him across the face, which caused Constantine and others to remove his mitre, which is the hat, the priestly hat, and defrock him as a priest for behavior unbecoming, right, of a priest. The embellished story,
I like saying that.
The embellished story was that it wasn't just someone from Arius's camp; that it was actually Arius. And that St. Nicholas punched him in the face, knocking him to the ground. So, I mean, the story just gets better and better and better. Right. So,
if he was really that portly, he'd probably have a lot of torque in the rotate the hips through.
So he was reputed to have been a person who was concerned about children, particularly starving children, and he would bring them food.
Right.
There was an account of a family that had 3 daughters that were they were going to have to be trafficked in order to meet the needs of the home. And St. Nicholas, this is the legend, St. Nicholas went and dropped gold coins through the window of that home in order to stay the decision to traffic the girls, right? And so he did that for 3 different nights and giving them enough money that they didn't have to traffic the girls, but rather was enough to pay a dowry, and so there was an ability to see them married off, and so on. There are all kinds of, and how real that was,
who knows? Who knows?
But that's the legend of St. Nicholas. So he became the patron saint of children, a person who was generous, cared for the needs of children, and that was in the 3rd century. And through the years, he was hailed as an example of charity, generosity, and goodness, right? You see that spreading through Europe as St. Nicholas became kind of an example in the midst of the poverty that basically prevailed throughout Europe, as an example of how children should be treated. So children's needs should be put first, right? And you should meet the needs of children. And so St. Nicholas was often hailed as an example with the kindness and generosity that he showed to children. Right? So through years that just gained a certain life of its own. But not ever Santa Claus. That was a relatively recent development, right? And basically the phrase Santa Claus comes from a Dutch nickname for St. Nicholas, which was Santa, and then Nicholas, Claus.
Or Nicholas or something.
Nicholas, right? So then it was abbreviated to Claus. So Saint Claus or Santa Claus. That became the Dutch nickname for St. Nicholas. Okay. And then in the early 1800s, it was really that only 221 years ago or whatever, early 1800s. To the first references to Santa Claus began to surface in the United States.
Interesting.
Right. So it wasn't until the early 1800s. In the 1820s, the desire of retailers to be kind to children as a retailing, or what's it called, a marketing
like scheme or
plan, was to be kind to children, and so they started hailing Santa Claus as a benefactor to children and buy for your children and those kind of things. The patron saint of children was Saint Nick, or Saint Nicholas or Santa Claus. In 1822. Things got really going when an Episcopalian minister wrote the poem "'Twas the Night Before Christmas," right? Where he characterized him as a jolly, portly man who put his finger to his nose and all this magic stuff happened, and who rode a sleigh with reindeer and all that kind of thing. That was all the invention of that Episcopalian minister.
Emphasis on
right?
Episcopalian.
De-emphasizing minister. And that was in 1822. And then in 1881, I believe it was the Harper's Weekly, a guy named Thomas Nast, who was a political cartoonist, drew the modern Santa Claus.
Sure.
And he based it off the Episcopalian minister's poem, It Was the Night Before Christmas. And then that has just gained a life of its own. So I explained all this to my children. All right.
How old were they?
Oh, I don't know. Anywhere from 1-year-old to 8.
I can just imagine. I can just imagine trying to explain this to my 2-year-old. What?
Well, it's
what are you talking about?
It's simple. It's simple.
Yeah.
You know, you just say it.
Yeah.
It's on them whether they understand it. But anyway,
that's what I say when I'm preaching.
It was it was really for the benefit of my 8-year-old.
Yeah, for sure.
6-year-old.
A little bit older.
Yeah, a little bit older.
Yeah.
And I said, so the myth of Santa Claus is based in truth. It has gained, embellishment and elaboration and detail that isn't original to the real man back in the 3rd century.
Yeah.
But the real man in the 3rd century had a kind heart.
Right.
That cared for children.
Right.
Santa Claus cares for children by giving gifts to them and so on and so forth.
Right.
So it's based in truth, but it's not true. The Santa Claus that you see is not the original Santa Claus.
Right.
That man died.
Yeah.
Back in the 3rd century.
Right.
Like as all people do.
See, earlier when you told me the story and I asked you, what did you tell your kids?
Well, wait.
You said, I told them Santa Claus is dead. And I'm like, whoa.
Well, it's true. It's true. I was giving you a very brief
I know. It was just so funny.
Well, the reason I said that was to cut to the chase because I said to my children, now other children don't understand the whole history.
Yeah, sure.
And they think Santa Claus is alive.
Right.
And so they believe in the legend of Santa Claus. Let them believe in the legend of Santa Claus. You understand that legend.
Right.
It can be enjoyed.
Yeah.
Santa Claus is not evil.
Sure.
It's not a bad thing.
Right.
Except for the materialism and the Antichrist element that exists to it. But anyway, in a secular society. Besides those minor details. It's not evil. If a person believes in Santa Claus, it's okay.
Yeah.
Well, they went to somebody's house.
Totally.
And it was around Christmas time. And children were talking about when Santa Claus comes. And my eldest says, he's dead. He died. And the kids started crying. Santa Claus is dead. When the parent called me up. We have a problem.
Yeah.
Your kid told my kid Santa Claus is dead.
Your kid destroyed my kid's entire childhood.
That's right. Now I'm going to have to pay for a psychiatrist for my child and so on. But it didn't necessarily work out real well. But even though I tried, but you never can tell what the distillation is of the elaborate explanation distills sometimes down into its crudest.
His takeaway was
and most harsh
Santa is dead.
Form.
Yeah, Santa is dead.
Santa,
and we have killed him. Murderer of all murderers.
That's right. So that's my story, and how you handle it. Good luck. No.
Well, Church, it's been a really good episode. We'll see you next time.
Oh man, it's funny. I think that as in everything, families need to be respected. Yeah. And the difference in families need to be held in honor. Yeah. So my family or your family may have a difference of opinion on certain things. Right. Whether you allow your girls to play with Barbie dolls. Right. Or boys play with G.I. Joes. Right. Don't let your girls play with G.I. Joes. And don't let your boys play with Barbie dolls. But anyway.
I'm doing my best.
Yeah. Leave Barbie
not perfect, but I'm doing my best.
But whether you allow that or not, some people may think that G.I. Joe's is a militaristic thing that I don't want to teach my children killing, and so Army guys are bad. Right. And some people say Barbie dolls are vain. Right. Beauty is vain. Right. I'm teaching my children to value vain things. Right. and some people may. I had one woman come to me and say, "You need to preach a sermon against Barbie dolls." And I'm going, I don't think I'm going to do that. You know, I don't. My children didn't play with Barbie dolls in our house. If they went to somebody else's house and they had Barbies, I said, play with the Barbie dolls.
Yeah.
You know, it's okay. It's not evil. I just don't want you constantly obsessed with that physical form and beauty and glamour and all that kind of thing. If you want a hero, let it be your mother. Play with a baby doll and pretend to be her, your mother. You know, don't pretend to be some teenage girl out there that's voluptuous and vain. You know, that's how I looked at it. Other people say it's completely harmless. And they're not in sin if they believe that. That was just my own desire for my children. And so I said, respect other people. If you go to their home, don't say you're wicked. We don't play with Barbies because they're bad. No. They have their freedom. You play with them there. That's fine. I just don't want you obsessing about it in our home. You know, so
that's good. That's helpful.
We need to teach our children to respect the differences and not to feel the need to correct every wrong. That's out there. And it's not wrong to have the fun of Santa Claus and participate in the legend and all that kind of thing. And you know, that's the thing. I probably would not emphasize the fact that Santa Claus is dead as much as Santa Claus is a legend that we enjoy. So that's how I would, having learned the hard way. I would probably prefer to say Santa Claus is a legend that many people enjoy. And we can enjoy it. When we're with them, we can enjoy the legend of Santa Claus. Even though we know the origin of it, you know, without the emphasis on the fact that he died. You know, that kind of thing.
It can be traumatic for a little kid. Okay, no, that's helpful. I appreciate that balance too, because I think that's the thing that you know, the person submitting this question and many other people are striving for is that balance. You know, and that's a helpful way to do it, to be able to say, hey, this is something we can enjoy, so long as we know what the truth is. Because, you know, and
it's a legend,
and we want to teach our kids that we're people of the truth. But I appreciate how you do that. So, you know, church, I hope that that's helpful for you. It's only the first week of December, so you got all month to come up with a strategy about how you're going to navigate Santa Claus. But I appreciate.
I do have a problem.
Yeah, hit us with it.
With those manger scenes where Santa Claus is kneeling at the manger. I have a problem with it.
Yeah, for sure.
Because that mixes the fictional with the actual,
with historical,
which can demean the actual,
right?
So it can cheapen the reality, of the manger. So I have a problem with that, and I know other people. Again, this is a conscience. Other people see that they struggle with how preeminent Santa is in the holiday.
Totally,
and it's helpful to them. To see Santa submitting to Christ.
Interesting.
And that's how they look at
it. Kind of symbolically showing deference to the to what is meant to be the real reason for.
But I have a problem with it because it's a mixture of actual and fictional, and it becomes difficult for a child, particularly, to sort out.
Especially in a culture that would tell us that the manger scene is equally fictional.
Correct.
No, that's helpful. No, I appreciate that. I do appreciate the balance, and I appreciate.
And while we're at it, the wise men weren't at the manger either. So just to be biblically clear, they came to a house when he was about 2. So
look, Luke chapter 2 was like 4 years ago.
That's right.
You're gonna have to actually revamp that a little bit. So, well, no, I'm excited for the Christmas season. I think we'll have probably more holiday themed questions in the next couple weeks. So I'm looking forward to that. But I really do appreciate that balance. It's a helpful reminder to maintain truth, but in a way that's kind and gracious. You know, I think that's the part that I appreciate the most is you're telling us to speak the truth in love, which I'm grateful for. So, Pastor Rick, thanks for answering that question. Church, don't be afraid to submit any questions. Otherwise, you're just gonna have to deal with whatever I got. But we're grateful for you, church. We'll see you next week on another episode of Living by the Book.
Thank you.
Take care.